Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand each other. Hello, Alex. Good to see you. It's time to sign into Jessop's Journal. This is Jessop's Journal. In this episode of Jessop's Journal, I'm with a family friend, Alex Lindstrom. We knew him as Teddy, but I don't honestly know why, but you know. But Five Wise Vodka first, okay, it's not the vodka, it's the hand sanitizer. So we both cleaned up here. Virtual fist bump. Hello, Alex. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
So how do we know each other?
Well, I was friends with your daughter in high school.
Yeah.
And we had a little friend group and had a lot of fun.
In high school, I knew you had a bunch of interest, but there was a couple that I knew about that had to do with music.
Mm-hmm.
So how's music been a part of your life?
So I started piano in 4th grade, and then I joined band, played the clarinet, and then my senior year I just decided to join musical because
Okay.
I figured out that I had a voice and that I enjoyed singing, and so that's kind of where the singing started.
And you have a great voice. So what was that musical?
Footloose. Mm-hmm.
So music has obviously been a big part of your life,
Mm-hmm.
but you're a member of this little choir that people might have heard of.
Just a little one.
Yeah, which one is that?
The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square.
I have to admit, it's still,
Mhm.
kind of hard getting used to the new name.
Formerly the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Right, but so where do you guys actually tape?
Well, it's in the Tabernacle.
Okay.
That's where most of our rehearsals are, except for the summer months, is in the conference center.
So because that's where. So the conference center is just for the conferences, but everything else is truly in the Tabernacle then.
Well, we do when we have more guests coming to visit either our rehearsals or music and the spoken word. We're in the conference center all summer, and then also all December.
Oh, okay.
Just for the Christmas concerts and stuff in there, but. They usually say that our home is in the Tabernacle, so
okay.
we're usually there.
So I understand. What kind of practices do you guys have?
So we rehearse when we don't have anything else going on,
Mm-hmm.
just our weekly broadcasts. We rehearse on Thursday evenings, and then Sunday mornings before our broadcasts at 9:30.
Are those open to the public?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I gotta ask, how in the world did you get into the choir?
Well, there's an audition process,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really interesting. I was in college at the time, and my senior year of college, well, my last senior year of college, I was a senior for 3 years.
Super
and
senior.
I figured I would audition after I graduated, but the year before my final year, I looked at the due dates that were in August for our first process, and I just thought, I'm going for it. So I had auditioned before my final year of college, and so the first step is you send in a tape of yourself singing some exercises that they give you, and the hardest one is playing the first note of a hymn and then singing through the hymn without any accompaniment, and then landing on the right note at the end. So that was the hardest part of that for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part is a theory test, an ear training test. So you have to brush up on music theory, the actual what you read and what everything means, dynamic markings, time signatures, all that, and of course the notes.
Yeah.
And then there's a little bit of ear training too, where that was the hardest part of that test for me. You have to, hear a little lick of music and then find out what was different on the page that you're reading, and but then the last part is the in-person audition with the directors. And
Oh yeah.
I thought that would be the easiest part, but
No.
because I tend to perform well. It's just kind of one of my things.
Uh-huh.
But I left thinking, well, there's always next year.
Yeah.
Because they don't have you do too much. I was like, don't you want to hear more of my voice? But they just test a couple things and test some sight reading, and then you go. So.
And then, so how did you find out?
I got a letter a couple weeks later and said congratulations.
Really?
And
So it's a letter. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like?
Well, I had no frame of reference to, feel sure about whether I made it or not. Because, as I said, I left feeling like, well, I didn't make it this year, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got the letter, and it was, yeah, dream come true. I think it is kind of generally easier for the men because there's more turnover and maybe not as much interest too. But
Well, now from what I understand, because I know other members, there's some kind of rules on age and how long you can be in and all that stuff. Can you help fill us in?
You have to be at least 25 to audition,
Okay.
and then you can be in for either 20 years consecutively or age 60, whichever comes first.
How long you been in now?
I've been in for 7 years.
So you got a little bit more.
Yeah.
There you go.
I
Awesome.
finally don't feel new anymore.
Yeah.
So-
Well, do the other choir members know each other that much? I mean, is there really that much, contact, or is it kind of just in and out?
With how busy we are, it's hard to get to know other people. I mean, we start, when we do have our social, we have a yearly Christmas dinner together, and then of course every other summer we go on tour. So those are the times when we can actually get to know other people.
Okay.
And so I'm in the baritone section, and I don't even know all the baritones.
Ah.
So I just know, other single people in the choir, some, some other people I just come across. And
You're kind of in a, how do we put this? A unique
Anomaly.
situation. You're an anomaly.
Yeah.
You want to explain that?
Well, I'm gay,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I don't always like to use that term because all the baggage that's associated with it, but it's easy to say, and I find men attractive, we'll just say that.
Okay.
And I'm also active in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and obviously in the choir.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's kind of a unique place to be in sometimes.
Now, admittedly, I've had, because I talked to a couple of people saying, I was going to come interview, and one of the questions they ask is, "Oh, geez, isn't he excommunicated?" It's like, yeah, well, I'll ask him. I'm pretty sure he's still a member, but
Yeah.
do you get asked that a lot, or
Well,
what's the deal?
I don't get asked personally, but sometimes
Okay.
my family gets asked that. I think I've spoken in various singles wards and my parents' ward also just this last year, and people tend to go to my parents to ask questions. And when there was, I won't get into it too deeply, but there was that policy a few years ago about children of same-sex parents, and somebody went up to my mom and said, "Well, is he still in the choir? Can he still be in the choir?" And it's just like, well,
Yeah.
I'm living a little bit a different life here, and the church doesn't, being gay isn't an issue.
Okay.
Just simply the experience of same-sex attraction, and yeah, I think that needs to be known.
So when you say that you're living a different life, what do you mean?
Well, I'm currently celibate, and my beliefs forbid sexual relations outside of marriage between a man and a woman, and I intend to honor that. And so what that looks like, I'm not sure yet, but I've been open to other kinds of relationships, developing deep friendships, and it would be nice to even have a chaste companion someday.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you get, do you get any kind of or what kind of reactions do you get from other members of, for example, the choir? Does anybody in the choir know?
oh yeah. In fact, everybody should know in the choir.
Yeah,
I've
you
been-
think.
I've been pretty
If they
open.
don't now, they will after this airs.
But it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Good.
And I think there's a lot of talk about, well, if I was with a sexual partner, then I wouldn't be so well received. But with the people that I know, I can't see them changing too much in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
I just think there's a lot of good people in the choir and in the church, and it's overall it's been positive.
So how long have you
So,
known you're gay?
well, it's kind of interesting. I experienced the attractions when I was young, but I didn't put everything together till I was about 18, senior
Okay.
in high school, and
Gotcha.
learned about, I had this conception of what gay meant, and I confused gay with transgender and wanting to be a woman, but then I realized, so I learned about I heard same-gender attraction
Okay.
at church,
Gotcha.
and I was like, oh, that's what this is. And then I started putting together, okay, so when people say gay, that's kind of what they mean too. And
What kind of issues you have had? Because I'm guessing that the choir just kind of puts a punctuation mark on it, but that's not entirely
Mm-hmm.
your whole life, but
Yeah.
how in the world do you balance those? Because I'm guessing that to some people you might be, too conservative, and to some you might be not conservative enough, or how does that work?
Well, it's, I just, there is a balance there. And what's really helped me is finding what I can do within what I believe.
Okay.
And there's a lot of focus on what the church, quote, forbids,
Mm-hmm.
or, that we're anti-gay or whatever. But I like to explore, you know, well, I have these boundaries with the gospel, but that doesn't mean I can't love a man,
Mm-hmm.
or several men,
Mm-hmm.
or that I can't experience, intimacy. And of course, when I say intimacy, I mean non-sexual intimacy and vulnerability with people. I mean, we're created for connection, and I just feel like, being gay, it's kind of a calling to love in
Mm-hmm.
different ways.
Right.
So it all ties in together to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know everything. There's still some stuff that I need to explore and understand, but I think there's a place for me.
Describe what love means to you.
Well, first off, I believe it starts with God. Understanding that God loves me unconditionally. And for me, it all starts there. But as far as loving other people, I see it as a genuine care and concern for someone, and hoping for the best for them in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And there's various ways of expressing that love too.
Right.
We hear now, something that does get on my nerves a little bit is when people say love is love, therefore the church should change.
Mm-hmm.
Its stance on marriage and stuff. But I'm just like, well, of course love is love. Love can be found in several different ways outside of what we typically see in marriage and romance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that deserves a little bit of light and discussion.
Yeah.
So
So if there was someone else out there that is dealing, with same-sex attraction, what kind of things would you say to them that are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day
Mhm.
Saints?
I think the first thing is understanding that they're loved, that there's a place for them. We might not know right now what that looks like. I still don't know what it looks like for me, but understanding God the way that I do, there has to be room for me somewhere. And I'd also say that same-sex attraction, or being gay, doesn't need to be a flaw, doesn't need to be something to be ashamed of or something to be fixed. It can actually be a gift. And I'd say if you want to stay in the church, I think there's a way to find out how to use that gift. And I'm still figuring that out for me too, but I enjoy just viewing it as a gift I've been given to use for good.
Okay. Well, talking about gifts and the fact
Mhm.
that you're a member of the choir, do you have a favorite hymn that you might be able to sing for us?
Yeah, well, it usually depends on what time of year it is.
Yeah, true.
I love Angels from the Realms of Glory, but
Okay.
that's a Christmas song.
Yeah.
And it has to be the Mac Wilberg version. But the other one that I think probably the entire choir has kind of started enjoying recently is called Love Divine, All Love's Excelling.
Before you
So-
sing it, what's kind of the general theme? What's the message of this song?
It's just, it's all about the love of Christ. And some of the words in it are still kind of confusing and ethereal to me, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just about his love, his atonement, and our plea to him to keep us from sin, and to be safe in him. And that's kind of what it means to me. And part of it, I just love the Mac Wilberg arrangement too. So it's Love divine, all love's excelling, joy of heaven to earth come down, Fix in us thy humble dwelling, all thy faithful mercies crown. Jesus, thou art all compassion, pure unbounded love thou art. Visit us with thy salvation, enter every trembling heart.
Alex, thanks so much for sharing that gift. Your voice is beautiful. The slogan of Jessop's Journal is Stories of Power. They help us understand each other. And so I'm hoping that people out there that are watching this, they may understand some of the things that you're going through, and maybe somebody they know is going through. And based on that, we have a little hashtag we like to use called Leave Your Mark. So Alex, how do you want to leave your mark?
I want to leave my mark by continuing to share my story as a same-sex attracted / gay man and a traditional sexual ethic, and something that I have enjoyed following is in other Christian gay communities. They have what's called Side A and Side B, and Side B is what I would fit in, and I want to be able to share more of those perspectives and those stories, and just spread more understanding about sexual minorities in the church.
Alex, thanks for coming on Jessop's Journal. The thing that I want to make sure that people understand is that stories do have power. They help us understand each other. Jessop's Journal's made possible by a bunch of people that I got to thank as well. Rustico, they make my journals. I mean, you can't have Jessop's Journal without a journal, right? Mm-hmm. We're out here on the outside. I love green things. The folks at Liquid Dirt help keep everything green out here. And I know it's kind of funny to talk to a choir guy and bring up vodka, but you know, we got Five Wise vodka right now. They're actually making hand sanitizer. So thank you guys for providing all the hand sanitizer for the crew. The other thing, of course, is that you got to look good. And so I got the folks from Taylor Cooperative that are helping out. They make all my wardrobe. And of course, the folks at JW Custom Hats. With another entry into Jessop's Journal and Alex Lindstrom, I'm Doug Jessop, ABC4 News.